Podcast. This is your host, Wes Hilliard speaking. I'm joined by William Gallagher once again. Lots and littles going on this week. It's kind of a weird week. We've got a few small stories, a big story to get into, and Apple Insider Plus is going to be a fun one. Before we get to that, I'd like to thank our sponsor this week, Clean My Mac by MacPaw. And if you don't want to hear anything about sponsors, there's Apple Insider Plus, where you get an ad-free experience and a bonus topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about Apple's responsibility, its role with app review. Because they've told the courts, they've told the governments, they've told the people, they are app review, no one else. But are they doing their job? And how do we fix it? So, William, how's it going?
Well, I'm just in from a paper round. I'm trying to get up enough money to buy the big new Elgato Stream Deck. Also getting in my steps for the day. So I'm fine. Grand. Thank you. Okay. How are you?
I'm okay. Slowly still healing if anyone's keeping up. But I'm better every day, so I will soon be running marathons. Not really. I can't run. My knees won't let me. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Sorry, for one
second. I'm here
second,
to talk about...
I thought you said your niece wouldn't let you, and I thought, what hold has she got over you? Okay, I'm concentrating now, I promise. Okay.
So many nieces that I have. I have 11 nieces and nephews.
Wow.
So don't ask me to count how many of each. It would take a very long time. Mike must have listened to Apple Insider Plus and stole our idea because he wrote a story about a Mac Neo, a device that is lower down than the Mac Mini and a smaller case the size of an Apple TV. Did you read this story?
I'm actually complicit in writing it, and I did the image, the mocked-up version of the Mac Neo, which I am stupidly proud of, because I've copied the citrus sign, the exact shade of citrus from, in fact, one of your photographs of the MacBook Neo. So, at least artistry was involved. Now some guilt. I hadn't remembered that we'd said that, so... do I owe you something for having stolen your idea?
No, but citrus is an impossible to photograph color. You chose one of the many shades that it appears to be. We talked about it for an Apple Insider Plus segment where we would design different Neo products.
Right.
The Neo iPhone, a Neo Mac.
Oh, Neo Apple Watch.
Yes,
of course. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
I liked all of that.
So this was a good story. I just wanted to point it out to get everyone to go read it. But I wanted to get back to a topic we discussed last week. And this one is an ongoing story that probably will be ongoing until September, until something happens. Because this is Schrodinger's iPhone Fold.
Right.
It's both arriving and not in September. And we won't know until we open the box. So... William, do you remember what we talked about last week?
Yes, but also I've been thinking about it a lot, because one of the things that came up recently was, would it be called the iPhone Ultra instead? And that's one of the things we've talked about. Somebody, was it, blanked on the name, John Gruber maybe, saying that Apple tends to not name things after what they do. So the iPhone Fold is, I
don't know why I appreciate Gruber's commentary here, but this was always a placeholder. I think Apple Insider, I don't know that we were the first to call it iPhone Fold, but like when we were coming up with what to call it, because there was different names kind of floating around and different ideas, and we settled on iPhone Fold just because that's what the Samsung device was called, and it's what it does. We're talking about 2019, 2020, when these discussions were had. So it just stuck because, again, it's an easy to say thing. If we called it the iPhone, Ultra in 2019, everyone would be like, okay, but which phone are you talking about? Like, that doesn't say anything about the device. Once it releases and the marketing's out there, some people will understand that when you say iPhone floppity-doo, like that refers to the iPhone Fold. But until we have that name, we need a placeholder, and the placeholder can't be Duo. What is a Duo? Like, that doesn't tell us anything. So,
oh yes, yes. Sorry, that he did say it was Gruber. He did say Duo as well. Floppity Doodah is so much of a better name. I will type with crossed fingers until September that Apple gets it right. Then. Okay. So you were thinking about what we talked about. We also talked about the fact that there's this ongoing thing that you've argued by now we should be seeing parts for it. We should be seeing more leaks, and we are seeing more leaks, but not to the level you want. So that's true. They might.
This is bandwagoning at its best. This is every leaker that's still considered a leaker that isn't some fake random web account saying, us too, we came up with this idea. We're yes. So, so we'll get into what they're saying in a moment, but just to more specifically recap last week, there was a lot of back and forth. First, Instant Digital said that Apple was going to begin test production of the iPhone Fold. It's the first of 3 productions. It's test validation, or a production validation testing, then design validation, and then there's like a final mass production validation. I got the names of them wrong, but there are 3 of them. We're in the first one, and it's due in September. This is going very slow. For reference, iPhone 18 entered the first of the 3 layers last month, so it is definitely behind on schedule, even if it only is going to get made in the 7 to 8 million range of units. That came out, but then immediately after, a different report said, actually, Apple's hitting some snags in its testing that we just heard about it. They're doing the testing phase, right? Well, they've hit snags in that testing, and they're warning suppliers that if this isn't overcome, we're going to be shifting the mass production date later. This created a lot of hoopla, a lot of stock, tumult went on. People tried to pin Gurman's story as like, see, he said it was going to be delayed. Then Gurman said, no, actually, I said it was still going to be on time, just maybe in October instead of September. And all this back and forth happened. And then finally, nothing was really resolved. We never really got to hear back from any other report saying if the supply chain actually said this or not, or Apple actually told the supply chain this or not. And now, in the weeks since, we've had at least 3 other leakers step out and say they're siding with, I probably said John Gruber earlier. I meant Mark Gurman from Bloomberg. They're siding with him on his announced in September alongside the iPhone, released at the latest in October. And that's the dog pile because, Gurman's not someone you really want to bet against a lot in these things. So here we are. iPhone Fold is still in this weird limbo space because in Nikkei Asia, it apparently got a hold of some supply chain statuses saying Apple told them this. So perhaps they're making it up. Perhaps their source is making it up. I don't know. Or maybe they're interpreting it wrong. I don't know what the disconnect here is. But Gurman seems fairly adamant about that report being just, I think he used the phrase misguided. So where do you think we are in all this, William?
Well, we're at a very important point, which is you just said about the 3 leakers stepping out, and I cannot get it out of my head now that they're going to sing. It's like a little boy band of leakers. That's not what you meant, is it? We're still at the stage where I've seen this in you. Maybe I think you even played it down last week, but you are now on the side of it's coming. There's just questions about when. And before you'd have been unsurprised if it was 2 years off suddenly.
We're playing all this side game thing. Like we got a podcast review later about this. It's not necessarily sides, okay? And it's not like, oh, Wesley was wrong. Look, I know there's nuance to this. It's hard. It's difficult, especially in an audio format. But let me put it to you like this. Earlier in the year, I've always been skeptical about iPhone Fold. To be clear, I don't think the device needs to exist. I think that it is a flawed device as a product that doesn't seem to serve a particular purpose. If Apple can sell us on it, we can have a different conversation. Apple can convince anyone of anything, and I'm happy to hear their point when they announce this device. Maybe they'll convince me to buy one. I don't know. I've said this many times before. But as it stands, the designs that we've been seeing leaked from CADs, not actual parts, doesn't leave a lot of hope for this actually being that useful of a device. And I am also just adamant about, hey, where's the leaks? If this thing was ready for this fall, it should be leaking in some respect. We saw all of iPhone Fold last March, all of iPhone Air last March. So the fact that we're not seeing anything, and this report of they're not even past phase 1 of testing for mass production, that is not good. Those aren't good signs. So I've never been absolute, this thing isn't coming. I've only ever said, and you can go back and listen to me, it's on the record, that if we don't see leaks soon, this thing is in a weird spot timeline-wise and release-wise. Like, where is it? And then now we're seeing these reports. I kept saying on the show, put in your bets. We're going to hear from the first leaker soon that there's some unknown delay. And we got this unknown delay. There it is. And everyone's pushing back against it. This has happened so many times before in leaking that we forget, because the end result is that the product is delayed or it isn't, and we just move on with our lives because the thing happened. But people never really go back to examine how we got there. I remember, like, a couple of years ago, we had the flat-sided Apple Watch. Everyone was talking about the flat-sided Apple Watch. It was nonsense. It wasn't going to happen. But everyone and their mother was saying it was going to happen because of some stupid fake component leak that got out. And it didn't release. We got a regular Apple Watch with more rounded size. It was hilarious. During the keynote, Apple emphasized how much more round it was. So let's just not forget that these are human beings capable of making mistakes. This is a complicated process. It is fun to participate in the rumor mill, but they are not gods. They don't know everything. Heck, even if they got leaked accurate information, it could be weeks old. Apple could have changed their mind. We don't know, but it's fun to report on. So this week, we've seen some rumors about, again, just repeat data from various leakers saying Apple will announce it in September, and that seems to be the go-to, because that's also just what Gurman's saying. Digitimes also fell into this boat. They wanted, I guess Digitimes wanted to be the clarifying force here, arguing to be the middleman. They weren't the first to say this, but they almost were acting like they were the first to say this, saying that actually both reports are true. Nikkei Asia is accurate, and mass production is going to be delayed, right? Instead of it beginning, so mass production for these things, like the actual mass production, is end of June, middle of July, that time frame. That's normal for any iPhone. Mass production can get pushed all the way back to August for the iPhone Fold, matching Nikkei Asia's report, but it would still be revealed in September and released in low quantities by October. So basically, Digitime stepped in and combined all of the disparate rumors into one, which honestly sounds mostly right. I don't disagree with this one. If Apple wants to announce the iPhone Fold in September and they only have 100 made, they will sell all 100 at the end of the month. They got it on the books, and then they ramp up production into the winter. That's fine. Apple has done similar in the past. We've seen it with the iPhone X. We've seen the pandemic affect things. We'll see where it goes.
AirPods were the same. Yes, they got one at the door by the December. Yeah, though it's the one I bought.
They hit their date. So it's interesting to watch. But we'll like I said, we'll get more into the podcast comment later. But just to be clear, my stance has always been, we don't know if this thing's coming or not. I don't think it needs to exist personally, but my bet has never been it's not coming. Like I've never. I mean, if I have, then it might have been a mistake. But I am of the mind now, William, that it is more likely to come because Apple has made it clear that it really, really wants it out there. Internally, at least, they've made it clear. So I wouldn't bet against it releasing, is all I'm saying. But this is still pretty fraught. Anything could happen. It could get delayed all the way till 2027. We just don't know. But my preference, of course, would be if they decided it just wasn't worth it and focused on other things.
Right. Well, just so we can refer back to this exact point, my status is there's no way I'm going to be able to afford it when it comes, based on what we've heard so far.
So what do you think of these latest rumors? What do you think of Digitime's assessment? Does that make sense to you?
It's interesting the way you said some things were put together. Could you put them together? And I hadn't seen that, and that made sense for it. I feel like we're getting the old elephant thing of touching the trunk when you looking at the tail, or whatever the correct phrasing of that is. There's enough in there that I believe it's coming in September, but not enough in there that I can justify that belief. It's a really narrow, fine line there, but that's where I'm sitting.
To clarify, the full statement is, if you want to understand, you can't understand Apple's supply chain based off of one person describing one supply chain member, because it's like blindfolding three different men and asking them to describe an elephant. One would describe the trunk as a snake, one would describe the legs as a hippo, and one would describe the tail as a giraffe. Like, you don't get the full picture from one person describing one aspect of a larger mammal. So, I don't think...
I'm just thinking, unless any of them peaked, and then we'd know they peaked because Apple sued them for it. But anyway, yeah, sorry. I went off on one there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is I don't like talking about this story because it's a little sad. So, Jon Prosser got into some trouble, and he got sued by Apple. To recap, basically, last January, he got a hold of what was a very, very early build of what would be liquid glass. And if y'all, people have been treating this like he leaked iOS 26. It was not what happened. His leak was actually pretty poor in the grand scheme of things. It did an okay job of showing what some things might look like. Of course, his YouTube thumbnail was clickbait because it had circle icons, and then half of his imagery that was rendered was just wrong because, again, he was embellishing. But the actual mock-up versions of the screenshots that he got were real because they were taken from a prototype device that a Apple employee had in their home. And the mock-ups were, it was so early that everyone in the know said that's not it. Like, I'm pretty sure we had a Mark Gurman just straight up say, no, not quite. Right. So being clear here, he sacrificed what could be his career for an almost leak, an almost scoop, because the reports that I've been reading so far about this trial have been like, Jon Prosser stole liquid glass. It's like he barely got the sheen. Like, he knew there was like a glassy layer over the UI, but that was about the extent of it. He said that he even said in the video that it's not even that much of a redesign when it was. So anyway, moving on. We know the backstory of this now, and we're going to throw some allegedlys in there. There's an ongoing trial, but what seems to have happened, what was alleged by the Apple employee who is now fired, I can get their names, but it's not that important. It's like Luke Plunkett or something. I'm sorry, I don't know where that name came from. Ethan Lipnick. The letters were there, just in the wrong order. Anyway, so the Apple employee, Ethan Lipnick, was a friend of a colleague of Jon Prosser's, Michael Ramisiati. So, however you say his name, Prosser pressured... I'm going to have to say his name over and over again, aren't I, William? Prosser pressured Ramisiati into going to his friend's house while his friend was away, getting the prototype testing device, opening it up on a FaceTime call, and showing it to Prosser. And what's being alleged is that Prosser was the ringleader here. He orchestrated the whole thing. and he took screenshots of that call and then used those screenshots to make fake versions of those shots, because that's what he does, and put them in a video. So that's the story that is being told. That is what has been allegedly evidenced by a recording sent via iMessage to Lipnick, which was provided to Apple, of Prosser's friend, saying that's what they did. Right? So that's what's all in evidence so far. Prosser has been asked, since this trial began, I believe sometime last year, I want to say October.
Yeah.
He's been asked to provide any evidence. Just the discovery process is asking for multiple points of evidence, communications, things to either show his innocence or not. He has provided nothing. In fact, I think he's basically ghosted them, is the term, because they defaulted the judgment last year, and for some reason the trial continued. Normally when these things default, I figured that was the end, but no, somehow even though he's not showing up to any of this stuff or providing any evidence or talking to anyone theoretically on the record, the trial is moving on, and he's looking to get the default overturned because he's been, quote, talking to Apple behind the scenes.
Right, surely you can't just not get sued by choosing not to turn up or anything, because if you do anything like that, the
claim so far, the claim so far is ignorance. Every one of these reports is, this is Jon Prosser's legal team, and we were never informed of a due date. Okay.
Yeah.
So they lost the due date in the mail. To be fair, it kind of is working. Their ignorant thing is working, but eventually you have to participate. The trial is going to continue. So Prosser has finally played his hand. Can you guess what he's going to do here?
Because I read AppleInsider, I believe he's pleading.
He has insider information.
Pleading the fifth. We don't have that here, but you hear about it an awful lot on TV. Is pleading the fifth, or is it?
You're off by 4 amendments.
Am I?
So, fifth is you have the right to not.
The ninth.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, the other direction.
So what's the fifth?
Yeah, you have the right not to
incriminate yourself.
You'll
right.
look it up. Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. You have the right to not self-incriminate during an event, but that's different.
So what's the first?
When a court says give us documentation, you have to give them documentation. There's no fifth. You don't plead the fifth again. Anyway, moving on. The First Amendment protects speech, right to free speech. The Congress shall set no law that controls speech. That's the important part everyone forgets. Congress shall set forth no law that controls speech. You can practice any religion you want to, but there's the other one that isn't discussed as much these days. Freedom of the press. You have the right to have journalism, to publish news, to discuss the goings on in the world. Prosser is hoping that he is going to be covered by the First Amendment as a journalist in his coverage of Apple. But
no, that doesn't
the
work.
Events I described before, no, it doesn't work that way. So the events I described before are what's being alleged. If this was just a simple theft of secrets, right, trade secrets case, that would be an open and shut case. Apple probably would never have sued because, as you can see, there's leaks all the time. Apple can't sue a leak. They can fire the leaker if they find them, but they can't sue the journalist for publishing that the iPhone Fold looks like this, because that is a right to our journalistic integrity. If we paid a person to break into Tim Cook's office and steal an iPhone Fold and bring it back to me, there's multiple layers of illegal going on there. That is not protected speech. That is not allowed. There are multiple court cases that prevent that from being allowed. It has been tested and tested and tested in court. If you, as a journalist, participate in any way in getting illegal information, You are no longer protected by the First Amendment, period. And the court, the whole case is premised on the idea that Prosser was the orchestrator of stealing this imagery. And they seem to have evidence that suggests that. And Prosser has provided no evidence at all, whether it condemns him or indemnifies him. But either way, he has provided nothing. So the only evidence in the court's hands seems to be the one saying he did it. Mm-hmm. And now he's arguing journalistic coverage. That's a problem, because all the court has to say is, well, you stole this information, so therefore you're not protected. The end of case. So I don't know where he's going with this. June 10th, I believe, is the next date. We're going to get an update on all of this. It's just a really sad state of things, because this whole time Prosser's running to the press. I believe he talked to The Verge briefly. Yeah. We covered that story as well. He is still making YouTube videos about iPhone leaks. Right. And we got an interesting quote, I believe, from that Verge story, William. I don't know if you read this.
I don't
but
think so.
Yes, he described what he posts on his website as everything he posts he believes to be accurate. So take that for what you will. Yeah.
Not how I describe his videos, but that's a different issue altogether. Okay. Okay.
I feel for the guy. I don't watch his content, right? It's a little crude and a little silly for my taste, and he's often wrong. And he had some insider resources that wasn't theft sometime in the past, alleged theft sometime in the past, that was accurate and interesting. And then things started falling off when we got the flat-sided Apple Watch, Steve Jobs edition Apple glasses, yada, yada, so on. So he's obviously lost his sources. He still wants to make money. He has an audience that are very faithful to him.
True.
I think if he just pivoted into Apple News and continued covering leaks and gave his supposition and, even claimed insider resources, who cares? It's YouTube these days. Everyone seems to be lying. Apple Insider is not lying. We are an integral journalistic entity. Anyway, I'm just a disclaimer. No, but seriously, YouTube is full of trash. But Prosser could take advantage of that and do whatever he wants with his channel, but he's so forceful about, I need to be the Apple Leaks guy, even though I don't think he's really been the Apple Leaks guy for a long time. It's like seeing a boxer return from retirement to get their teeth knocked in. It's just, at some point you hang up your belt and move on. And I'm sorry, Prosser, but I think this lawsuit's going to result in you not being allowed to talk about Apple at all. If you had cooperated, maybe it would be a lesser thing. Maybe they would just, cut it at these kinds of leaky things. But they might completely silence him, and that's just sad. And I hope he has a future in making videos, because he has some well produced videos. He's just gonna have to find a different niche. We'll see what happens with this case.
His legal team, and I mean, if I had a lawyer up against Apple's lawyers, I can't conceive of being able to hire somebody able to bat against Apple's incredibly big and well-funded and well-done team.
To be fair, William, the advice of these lawyers so far seems to be bury your head in the sand and see what happens.
I can do that myself.
This feels very... This seems very I have an uncle that's a lawyer type stuff going on here.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by Clean My Mac from MacPaw. First thing this morning, my Mac Studio it was something like 1.5 terabytes of free space, but after just a little video editing, it was suddenly down to only 88 gigabytes free. Now, I think there must be something wrong with Final Cut Pro, but the reason I know it was down to 88 was that Clean My Mac warned me. When you're low on space, all sorts of things go wrong on the Mac, and the spinning beach ball becomes your constant companion. Before that could happen to me today, Clean My Mac warned me I was running that low on space. Plus, all right, I really need to look into how Final Cut Pro soaked up nearly 1.5 terabytes of little reason. I was on a project that had to be finished, and it's the old story. There's sort of, that if you take a little time now, you can save a lot of time later, but you don't have that little time now. Clean My Mac helped me out there too. It helped me with what I use it for most often, actually, which is to find things like duplicate downloads, to somehow scrounge up space that can be freed. Did that, found a pile of things to do with an Xcode project I'd started, abandoned, forgotten. Chuck that, got on with my work. Now, the warning of low space, that was obviously quick because it was just automatic. I didn't have to go ask what the space was. It warned me because it was a potential problem. But the rest of Clean My Mac is quick too. A couple of clicks and it's off searching the Mac, maybe one more click, I don't know, and it saved me space. And then yesterday I used Clean My Mac to yet again go over my iCloud account and do the same there. It does this for me, so it can do it for you. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use my code AppleInsider20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/AppleInsider. That's CLNMY, cleanmy.com/AppleInsider, and make sure Apple Insider is in all uppercase. Cleanmy.com, clnmy.com/AppleInsider. And thanks to MacPaw for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
So moving on, Apple has teams and teams of lawyers, and they're going to need them because there's some stuff going on in the App Store, William.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this because I wrote one of the stories you're thinking about, an app called Free Cash. I mean, just take a second. The app is called Free Cash, and people weren't suspicious of this.
To be clear,
yeah.
People use Temu.
Okay, I've never.
I
used
don't know
Temu.
what to tell you, William.
I can't judge.
That's all I need to say. It's garbage. I mean, okay. Disclaimer, because I don't want to sound like some weirdo. I have met people who have shopped on Temu and that other one who's escaping me. Very cheap website, direct buy from China. I don't have anything against Chinese goods. I buy Chinese goods all the time. My iPhone was made in China, sure. I think. So the choices are China or India. It's a coin flip.
Yeah.
So it's not the China thing that's the problem. It's that these goods were specifically made and selected and designed and probably made with slave labor to make them as cheap as possible so you can buy a 50-cent t-shirt. I've met people who are very happy with their cheap Temu purchases that they got, where they you spin a wheel and then you spam 500 of your contacts in your list with click this link so I can get $1 or whatever, and it's really scammy. It's on this edge of play the lottery, become a millionaire type thing. It's really gross, and it's playing on people's addictive thing. So, but I just wanted to be clear that people have gotten things that were okay from Temu. I mean, if you can buy a shirt for $1 and you can wear it, there you go, you win. You won the shirt lottery, I guess. But anyway, the internet is full of these weird things that target people who are less privileged. They don't have as much money, or maybe, like I said, they have these gambling type addictions where if they see a spin this to win a free thing wheel, man, they're all in. And while Temu might have been kind of a scam in its own right, but a legal scam, take that for what it is, Free Cash was just a scam. Can you tell me about Free Cash? What did it do?
The makers deny all scamness. Obviously.
Oh, sure.
Free Cash purported to be a way, one of these things where you get money for watching TikTok videos, for taking surveys, for trying out games and things. And, okay, yeah. What it actually did was it married you up with paid games. They found people who were likely to pay and made them pay for games. And that was it. It was definitely a marketing thing for it. Yeah. I think, the thing that interests me is Free Cash. I mean, I wouldn't conceive of going for it, but if you did think about it, if you were tempted, you would Google it. And actually, this may have changed now, but as I wrote that article, if you did a Google search on the Free Cash app, you know the AI summary that comes up in Google that is invariably wrong. I mean, it's like they work.
Google is worthless. It is a worthless entity. I don't know why anyone uses it.
No, this time it expressly said that this Free Cash is a legitimate app and pointed to reviews and ratings. And I think I understand why, because I don't know how it started, perhaps with mass advertising, but enough presence and enough reviews got on that it started getting attention and people would see it and try it, and then genuine people gave it reviews. I don't know why, but it kept going further. It suddenly zoomed up and went top of the charts and stayed there.
Do you know, William, I can guarantee you this. I am willing to put money that one of the things you can do in Free Cash to get your free cash is to leave a 5-star review on the App Store and say how much you like it.
That would do it.
Also, you can just pay like $50 to a bot farm with 300,000 iPhones in India to leave 500 apps reviews, and it takes them about 4 seconds. They made their $50, and now you have a 5-star review with 50,000 reviews.
Do you have the address?
The whole
okay.
The whole thing's broken, William.
There is another side of broken things, which actually I think is what you want to talk about in AppSider Plus. But I should say this. Free Cash went on the App Store sometime in 2024, and it was taken off about less than 2 months later. What happens subsequently is another app, I've forgotten the name of it, that was already on the App Store, was in some way acquired or bought by the Free Cash company. They rebranded the app to Free Cash, and they pushed an update through that basically made it an app we know. The makers actually say, well, we must be fine because we go through app review, don't we, and stuff. But it looks to me like Apple must spend less time on updates than it does on an initial app purchase. And so this almost got nodded through, which is...
Too much of app reviews automated, and the amount of apps submitted to the App Store is too many because of vibe coding. The problem is only getting worse, a problem Apple created on its own. It's very lucrative for Apple. They're making pennies on the dollar for every garbage app that's submitted to the App Store and gets through because App Review doesn't pay attention. So it's working in their favor, but it's a problem for consumers. And Free Cash, it's like they could have named it Burn Money or Scam Wallet. I don't know. Like it's a stupid name that should tell anyone that it's stupid. But here's the thing: people get desperate, and they see all these reviews. They see it on Facebook. You know, Grandma reviewed it 5 stars, and why not? Free money, and it's just a lie. It's another lie, and. I mean, there are so many lies people believe these days. Why not one more? And this one just so happens to steal every bit of data that it can about them, their time, and even eventually their money if they're willing to give it. And it's all on this promise of, oh yeah, you'll get $1 if you watch this ad. On the other end of the spectrum is a crypto wallet that made it through App Review, named identically to a real crypto wallet, and it stole $9.5 million from users unknowingly. There are several lessons here. One is App Review didn't do its job again. Also, crypto is fraught and not as secure as actual money because these people can't get their money back because it isn't protected by anything. And yeah, this is if you're in crypto at all, maybe you need to pay really, really close attention to what you're doing and not just download the app because it has the same name. That's not enough.
I was thinking I would follow the route from the site, the website, but websites can be spoofed as well. Okay.
You could easily spoof a website. You could also get redirects, especially if there's a misspelling. All you need is, a couple of big ticket winners, especially in crypto, to get that 9.5 million. I'm sure they scammed a lot of people. I don't know if there was any numbers provided about specifics behind the hack and who was affected. April 8th and 11th, 3 victims ended up losing more than $1 million each. 3 million, 2 million, and 1.95 million. So this is what I'm talking about. Most of the 9.5 million came from 3
people. Right.
3 people.
So really, because it's not a big scam. They only got 3 people, but okay.
But also these individuals had that much money in crypto in the first place. Yeah. It's just don't do it, guy. I know this is the tech show. We're supposed to be tech forward, but if I had a warehouse full of Beanie Babies, but that warehouse could fit in my pocket, it's just it's a pyramid scheme. Moving on, William, do you know the problem with crypto? Do you know the actual problem?
I don't have any.
I'm ready for the emails. The problem with crypto is someone can just make up a coin, it blows up, the biggest owners of that coin then dump it, they make their money, and then everyone else is left holding the bag.
Okay.
And there's no laws, no regulation. It's all garbage because our other reasons, U.S. government. So, moving on, there's another set of issues with App Store review.
Okay. Right.
First, I want to it feels like there's an order to this. So, do you remember Grok and X? They're interlinked.
Yeah.
This story gets a little conflated. So, Elon Musk owns XAI and X, the social media company. X, the social media company, uses the Grok AI, which was created by XAI. So it's all interlinked together. But Grok also has its own app. There was a time, early in January, when Grok, on both X and its own app, it had been doing this, I guess, seemingly for a long time, but it became viral and noticeable, and everyone was doing it. It was very easily, without any guardrails, just making non-consensual deepfake porn of non-consenting adults and minors in some cases.
Wow. Okay.
There's a whole hullabaloo. Apple apparently did, without anyone knowing, get behind the scenes and tell them, hey, if this isn't fixed, something's going to... they withheld an update from X and Grok. X put forth this nothing burger statement and put image generation behind a paywall. And Apple, so I'm going to be devil's advocate here. Apple's rules do not prevent pornography. You can go on X and find porn. You can go on several other social media websites and find it. It is not banned from the App Store. The rule in general is the sole purpose cannot be for pornography. So the Pornhub website, right, the most popular website in the world for this stuff, could not have an app on the App Store because that is its sole purpose. But if the app has general guardrails, like you have to have an account, the account has to be shown as an adult, and then you can access that content, there's guardrails in place. Grok was generating the stuff for anyone, anywhere. All you had to do is reply to a photo of a woman and say, show me a bikini. And it would do it. Or other things. And it would do it. And that was awful. And there was obviously no guardrails. Putting it behind a paywall was enough for Apple to say, there is now at least a guardrail. You have to be paying, and generally paying means adult. You've done enough. Grok, on the other hand, did not, because Grok was still easy to download without an account. You could still make it do these things. There was no paywalling that because it would ruin the app. So app actually threatened Grok XAI with removing the Grok app from the App Store. All this took place in the background. It never happened. Grok pulled another weird thing, and ultimately it got resolved, even though to this day, if you know what you're doing, you can convince Grok to make deepfake nude images of non-consenting women and possibly still minors. But moving on. That was a whole thing. And why did that happen? Why am I pointing this out? Well, first off, we found out about Apple's involvement. So that was a story this week. But more importantly, that they got the treatment at all is important. Elon Musk is, still, as far as I'm aware, the richest man in the world, if not second, but I'm pretty sure he's still richest. He got special treatment because of that and his connections to the U.S. government. X didn't get pulled from the App Store immediately upon finding out about there being potential child pornography on their website, right? This would never, I remember Tumblr. This is the one I keep going back to. But Apple told Tumblr they had 24 hours to remove every potentially nude image from the website, or it was going to get pulled from the App Store. Right. And the developer had to come in from vacation and solve this problem. It was crazy. Tumblr was this tiny little team, and X didn't get that treatment. They got weeks of sharing illegal. Illegal doesn't mean minors, by the way. I don't know. I know the UK has its own laws, but in the United States, it is criminalized to make non-consensual,
of course,
explicit imagery of any adult without their consent. Right? That's what non-consensual means. But that is just illegal to make and share it. So you're inherently sharing it by making it on social media. Anyway, moving on. That all happened. Special privileges, yada, yada. We had a story a week or two ago of a different deepfake nude app suing Apple because they didn't get special treatment. I guess they just wanted to blow a hole in they knew they were going to lose, but I think they just wanted to make aware of, hey, we just got removed from the App Store and weren't even told until it happened. And we didn't even get a chance to fix it or whatever until after we were blocked from updates. So enter this week's problem. Deepfake non-consensual porn apps or explicit imagery apps are advertising on the App Store.
Okay. I did not know that.
Now, this seems like a step too far.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is here is
they're not being featured by Apple or anything like that, but they're paying to be advertised. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Apple doesn't have a here's how to make deepfakes section in their Apple Today view. That's not. But this watchdog group, which actually pointed out the problem the first time, if I can find their name, Tech Transparency Project. They were the ones who pointed out during the whole Grok issue that there were at least 28 other apps or more that were making non-consensual images with a simple prompt, a simple image, a simple video. Apple said, yeah, and we removed 28 apps from the App Store, not Grok, during this thing in January. Well, the Tech Transparency Project continued their investigation and released more information this week. They have found many more apps in the App Store, and among them, let's see, we've got at least one number I wanted to point out. They have found 31 Nudify apps, is what they're calling them. The words I'm using are much longer, but it's the more accurate term, but Nudify is like the colloquial term. They found 31 Nudify apps that were age-rated as suitable for minors, so for those who are under 18. So you could download this app if you had parental controls on for your 13-year-old. Then go to the App Store, download this app, upload a photo of their classmate, and have it undress them. And it would just do it, right? And it's in the App Store. And the reason why I bring up that example is because this is a serious problem in schools right now. People are using this as a bullying method in schools. Right, the cyberbullying has taken on these deepfake apps and are making nude images of classmates to embarrass them and control them and humiliate them. And you can just download them from the App Store. And they found 31 that were age-rated as suitable for minors. So even with parental controls, you can just download it, right? And the parent doesn't know. It's face swap. You can swap faces with your friends, But no, it's much worse. That's 31 that were underrated, right? Not to mention, they didn't mention how many apps they've actually found. But the primary problem here isn't just that the apps exist on the App Store, right? Apps get through app review all the time. If you go to app search and search deepfake, it auto-completes the term, and the first result is an ad for an AI app called Face Swap Video by DuoFace, which is a company we've mentioned before. There's probably a lawsuit somewhere. And I don't want to make any accusations or unfound claims or anything, and again, allegedlys and all that. I included this search and this result in my article because I went ahead and searched it, downloaded it, and tested this out. And it worked without paying any money. I went and found some stupid explicit video on the internet, screen recorded. That's 10 seconds of it, right? It's available. It's the internet.
It's the chat found a random for this section. Yeah.
No. Mike, I asked Mike about it. I was like, is this what was the word I used? Like, I don't want to be like crude here pointing out what I did, because like, this is just, I need to verify this is actually something you can do. Anyway, I was like, is this appropriate? And he's like, yeah, just, don't share an image. I'm like, obviously I'm not going to share an image. But I found a stock photo of some person's face, and I just inputted it in the app, because the app's like, oh, you can put a video of someone jumping on a trampoline and swap your face in, and now you're jumping on a trampoline, right? That's the whole thing.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I gave it this explicit video. Clearly, like, anyone with eyes can see that this is an explicit video with a person, and swap their face. And it did it. It did a very poor job. But the fact that it did it at all, it doesn't matter if it was bad or not. That's the problem. It didn't try to detect if it was explicit. It didn't warn me of anything. It didn't verify that that was a real human being's face that I was swapping in. It did nothing. It just made the new video and allowed me to save it to my camera roll. And it was advertised as the top selection in the App Store. Now, the thing is these developers aren't doing this on purpose. Some of them aren't. Because you would think, oh, they're being deceptive. They're treating it as this fun little face swapping app, and it actually can do these new things. Turns out, these developers are just making these apps because they are in demand, quote unquote, face swap. Like, I guess it is kind of a thing. Snapchat, one of Snapchat's most popular filters is the face swap and aging filters, stuff like that. So it is in demand. They're not wrong. But the AI tools that they're using have no guardrails. Some of the apps that Tech Transparency Project tracked down, they talked to the developers. They're like, yeah, we're using Grok as our AI image processor.
Great.
And they were horrified to learn that the AI would make these nude images. So it's not necessarily the developer's fault. But the fact that Apple isn't seemingly even testing this as a possibility in these apps and then warning developers, like, that should be like checkbox number 2. Does the app work? Does it let you generate deepfake nudes, right? Like, it's just verify it, right? How are you verifying these things in this code? You have to actually use the app, verify it works. There are humans involved in this process, usually. So add the step. And the fact that this is getting through at the rate and volume that it's getting through is awful. And it goes against everything Apple's ever said about its curation of the App Store. I've talked a lot, William. Tell me what you think.
Well, I knew some of this, of course, because I read about the free cache thing, but I did not appreciate the rest of this. I also can't fathom why anybody would be entertained by swapping the face on something like the trampoline example. I mean, it's easy audience. But,
useless, silly, okay. Yeah.
But let me tell you, I miscalculated. We're now on 50 minutes. I'm going to have to pop in an advert at the right point later, but I didn't want you to think that we were still had a load of time left. I started the timer at a different point than normal to do something else, and consequently,
you're fine.
We're on.
That was a long topic, so that was a long topic. That's my fault.
And well, disturbing, but yeah. Okay, so
I talked way too much in that segment.
I said that gag about whatever it was I just said. How about this? I'm suddenly reminded of all those things when you can hear legal advice being whispered in the ear, and you should say, we're not talking about most of the apps in the App Store, which are, of course, perfectly legitimate and good and healthy for you. But, okay, right.
This is a complicated problem, and I know I talked a lot in that segment. There was a lot of detail to get through, since I wrote the story, poor William had to just nod and listen. But
no, nod,
we can move on from it.
Try not to retch. This is foul, this stuff. But okay,
it's horrific.
But it's happening.
Is the words I used. Yeah. And so I just wanted to share. And if y'all stick around for Apple Insider Plus, we're going to get into more of the app review problem and why this is breaking down. This isn't new. I want to say his name, but I'm going to get it wrong. Costa, it's on the tip of my tongue, but he was involved in a lot of like litigation around App Store app review processes and scam apps a couple of years ago. Like, this is something we've been writing about at Apple Insider for a long time, and it seems to only be getting worse, and there doesn't seem to be any changes to the App Store, and Apple's been mostly mum about the whole thing, but to be fair, regulators have also been mostly mum about the whole thing. But I'm afraid Apple is going to run into a problem very soon where people are just going to look at them and say, tough luck. The government's going to step in, and now you have to have outside review. It's no longer in your hands. Someone else has to do app review. Because at this point, I just don't know what Apple's doing here, and why this is so prevalent. I understand human mistakes, things get through, but this is horrific. And AI is a big part of the problem. Like, why is this happening so much in the past 5 years? Well, I wonder. Well, we can move on. There's a little tidbit I wanted to...
Sorry? Is there a nice topic?
Yes.
Yes, all right.
Yes, and a nice... And this is a good one. So, a little bit better here. Randomly, Greg Joswiak, Apple's marketing chief, was in an interview and threw out some little tidbits. Nothing really to grab onto, but confirmation of what we've been discussing here on Apple Insider for a while. Vision Pro reached into the future to show us how the digital world and the physical world could be combined. There is some inevitability to combining the digital and physical worlds. That's what spatial computing is all about. I can't give you a timeline for when spatial becomes anything else, but you know it's an inevitability of digital and physical worlds coming together. I just found this interesting because, as we said in the show, we've got some doubters out there who are like, oh, Vision Pro is a failure, it was an experiment, Apple's going to give up on it, it's going to move on. No, it's clearly a doorway into something else. And we've seen more and more evidence of Apple working on that something else. And Vision Pro is part of it, but smart glasses, AI glasses, and headsets, the three tiers, we've discussed the three different, they're three different products. We discussed them here before. That is the future of computing, at least in Apple's eyes. And you're not so keen on it.
No, am I right? Am I wrong? I'm not sure. I just, as impressed as I was with the demo I had of Apple Vision Pro, I didn't walk away wishing I had the money to buy it. And I don't know that I would. I feel like it'd be something, if I had bought it, it'd be in a drawer somewhere, and I'd get around to it every now and again. To walk around the Enterprise in the Star Trek thing and watch the odd film and not really work at it. And what I seem to need is stuff that makes me work for it. So I'm definitely not on board as much as you are. But then, like I say, every time you have one, you use it a lot. So you've got to know more than I do about it.
Well, the Apple Vision Pro is also the entry point. This isn't... The Apple Vision Pro isn't the future. It is a preview.
Sure.
Right? I mean, when we get the next generation Apple Vision Pro, it will be that much closer to what we're going to be all doing in the future, ultimately. But it's a stepping stone, and it's not for everyone. I would never say that everyone should go out and buy a Vision Pro. I think everyone should try it. But no, the future is closer to goggles, glasses, lightweight, easy to use, easy to wear. But no, I appreciated that comment, and I just wanted to throw it in here. There's not much else to say. I'm glad the Apple Vision Pro is out there. Blackmagic's camera is in more people's hands. They're going to be making more content. I saw it come across the headlines today. I didn't have a chance to really dig into it, but obviously talking about immersive video, we would be silly not to mention one of the episodes of Adventure was going to be about a pilot flying in this light aircraft, and apparently during the filming of this, she died. There was a plane crash. And obviously,
actually, I can tell you this one.
Yes,
there was
please,
a
go into
fatal
detail.
Accident. She died about 5 weeks later from injuries involved. A fascinating woman, Claire Lomas, paraplegic, injured after a horse riding incident in 2007. But by 2012, something like that, she was actually running in the London Marathon using sort of robotic artificial aids to get her going and raising money for charity. Did think she was a licensed pilot. She'd used this type thing before, and Apple invited her out to the Middle East to shoot. We're not fully clear yet what it would have been, but it would have been in the Adventure series. It would have been immersive video, and she did it all and then landed, and after landing something happened and her microlights veered off the side of the road, hit a rock, and that's what did it. I mean, she knew the aircraft, so it's not like there's a possibility of pilot error in it, but I'm thinking she wouldn't have known the aircraft plus cameras, and I'm wondering about the weight of those things would have altered something.
I wouldn't speculate.
True.
This is obviously just a terrible accident. I mean, anyone who does anything that is more than sitting on a couch knows that there's danger involved in getting out there, and she knows the risks herself. Every time you enter an aircraft could be the last time you enter an aircraft. It's just same way every time you enter a vehicle, a car. It could be the last time you enter a car. There's risk in everything. And, the fact that she was already touched down and basically taxiing is what's kind of wild and tragic about the whole thing, because the flight was done. It was just the crash afterwards must have caused some pretty good injuries, and she didn't get to heal up as from those. She didn't make it back from those, but the story struck me in an odd way, because you're watching the tightrope walker and you see her fall and you gasp because it's a scary moment, but of course she survives, because they would never air it if she actually fell. But it's still a very tense moment, but it's horrific and terrifying to know that maybe sometimes there are these situations and where the person doesn't quite make it, and maybe we don't hear about it. And this was just one of those stories that got through, and creating these things is not a guarantee. And every time we see someone jump across a building doing parkour in France, it's not a guarantee that they're going to make it to the other side. And just makes you appreciate even more the risks these people take just to not only get a thrill, but provide entertainment and be a part of these things. These aren't movies. This is, actual real life. And this was just a reminder of that. We got to close up. We're closing in on an hour, so I don't want to spend long on this one. I could probably talk forever about this one because there's just so many angles here. Did you watch this video from MKBHD?
No, I don't even know which one this was. I'm a bit behind.
So
what have I missed?
Well, it's not his channel. It's a known channel. I see. I'm so bad because I don't watch YouTube, so I never know who these people are. Veritasium.
Oh,
It sounds like that. It sounds like a Harry Potter, because it's Veritasium. It's a truth-telling post.
Okay.
Maybe it's, I don't know.
I never made that.
Maybe it's a different.
Videos. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, it's weird because I don't know the channel. I don't know the gimmick. I think the idea of the channel is they tell the truth. I don't know. Maybe that's where the name comes from. It's like Latin for truth or something. It's a serious
investigation, usually into sort of science and sometimes math-based things. The ones I've seen, anyway. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Good channel. My problem with anything like this is I grew up in the 90s and 2000s watching television and 60 Minutes and these 24-hour news cycle, very much baked into our being at this point. And the "it could happen to you" storyline kills me because it almost never can happen to you. This is where Stranger Danger came from. It was like 60 Minutes kept running these horrific kidnapping stories, and it made adults around America, if not the world, lose their minds thinking that their child was going to get scooped off of the street at any second. And some do, and it's awful, but like not all of them. Anyway, this story...
I'm quite shocked, actually, because what did they do? What was this one?
I'm going to get to the story, yes. Okay. So, the story is based on findings that we knew about from 2021. They wanted to... I guess they thought it would be interesting. These researchers must have reached out, or they reached out to researchers. I don't know. But using a loophole in Visa's credit card authentication systems, you can get Apple Pay Express Transit to empty a Visa card, basically. It's a simple yet complicated process. But the whole premise of this video and the story and everything they do in it seems to set up the idea that it's so easy. All you got to do is have your phone present near one of these terminals. So basically, the video opens. MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee, he puts his phone down, an iPhone, on a black terminal that's connected to a laptop. That laptop is connected to a payment terminal nearby, and someone takes their phone and touches it to the payment terminal, and it debits $10,000 off of his iPhone.
Okay.
And his iPhone is locked at the time, and no one touches the iPhone. It's just laying on this black terminal, and $10,000 is actually taken out of his account with no action.
Right, he had 10,000 in there. That's a different order to the 9.3 million, but okay. I'm in the wrong job. Okay, presumably he got it back.
Sure.
Yes, right.
Yeah, they gave it back. But I think the point of the video, and again, it's entertainment, so I'll give them a break. It's meant to shock you. But you have to get to the end of the 26-minute video for them to explain that it's not going to happen to you, right? Like, right. At the very least, open with, hey, we've got this really crazy thing we can do, but you don't got to worry about it. But they didn't even hedge that far. So I'll get to that. But basically, the idea is they got a payment terminal that they've tricked into believing certain things. They've got a separate magnetic interference terminal that can read your NFC card on your phone, that can trick your phone into believing certain things. And they make the two basically work in tandem with a laptop. And all they're doing is switching like 2 lines of binary, and they can take whatever they want off of your phone. If you have a Visa card in the transit slot in Apple Wallet.
Oh.
Because they're taking advantage of not an iPhone flaw, but a Visa security flaw.
Oh, okay. I can understand that. Mm-hmm. Right.
So anyway, go watch the video. We don't got to get into it here, the hows and the who's and the connect. But the point is, it's not as if someone can walk up to you and brush up against your leg and steal all your money out of your phone.
They got to put
requires multiple things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The easiest way for this to happen is if they have your phone. So they need to have stolen your phone, because again, the connecting it over your pocket's not really going to happen, because you'd have to time it just right. Your signal between the device and the endpoint of sales where they're doing the actual transaction would all need to be connected over a wireless signal, and that wireless signal takes time to travel, and then they'd have to sync it with the other person to make sure they're tapping the phone at the same time you're tapping the other phone, and then you have to hold it there for a moment. It doesn't happen instantaneously. So it's, again, moving through a crowd kind of thing, not going to happen. Right. So they would have to get your phone. Okay, they've got your phone. They've taken it to a secure location. You don't realize in the 2 minutes that your phone's gone that they have your phone. Okay, this is plausible so far. They also know that you have a Visa card in the transit slot and express mode on your iPhone with money to steal, because the amount of money they can steal is up to the limit of the card that you have in the account.
Oh, right.
And Visa is guaranteed up to $25,000 to give you that money back. So, needless to say, even if somehow they got your phone and did the thing, they're only going to get so much, and then you're going to immediately get it refunded because it clearly was a fraudulent transaction.
Right.
Why can this happen? Well, why is it Visa? There is a specific loophole. The MasterCard and these other companies have a protection. Visa does not. The problem is if Visa wanted to do this, they should have done it a decade ago. And doing it now, the manpower, the time, the effort it would take to save the pennies that it costs them to refund a person, they would rather just refund the person if they're a victim of this. So they're not going to fix it. And the crux of the video at the end, they interviewed some Visa guy, and this poor guy had to say exactly what I just said, and the YouTuber had to turn to the camera and say, see, they don't care about their users. They didn't actually say that, but like that's what they were implying. Like, all you had to do is fix this one flaw. Why won't you fix it? And it's just very performative and silly, in my opinion. Maybe it's because I understand how this stuff works, and they were talking to a different audience that would be like, oh, I can't believe Visa won't fix this problem. It's all very silly. Good video, good produced video, of course. Like, that's what the point is. They're entertainers. I just really don't like these "it could happen to you" angles.
You've put me off the channel. One of the reasons I tend not to watch stuff is that all of their videos are very long. I mean, very long, half an hour or so.
Is way too long.
For what the topics sometimes are. Maybe that's why I haven't seen this one, but I've really liked all the ones I've seen, and now you've put me off. I'm going to have to find something to replace them.
It's probably a fine channel, and I'm just nitpicking, but seriously, it really bothers me when people do that. At least from the front, disclaim that this is not, because the thing that they alluded to at the end to kind of cover their tracks, they're like, they compared it to cars versus airplanes. They said car crashes happen all the time. Airline crashes happen very rarely. But every time there's an airline crash, they do everything in their power to make sure that specific event never happens again. If Visa's concern about this is comparatively low, why not make it zero like an airline would? And again, they say this knowing that it's cost prohibitive. It's silly. Why go through the Sorry, I've been a manager in these kinds of decision making before. There are points where manpower outweighs the need. You don't let perfect get in the way of good. If one person in 10 billion over the course of a decade has this happen to them, they will happily refund the money. I don't know the numbers, but it's not very often. Visa was not worried about it. You shouldn't be worried about it. If and when this kicks off into a grand crime ring, we will let you know on Apple Insider.
Okay. So for the moment, I'm safe with my billions on my Transit Express card. Okay. I was worried there. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So closing up, briefly, just wanted to point out, because this isn't our HomeKit Insider. We changed names. What's our new home? Is it Apple Home Insider? Anyway, Andrew does a podcast. It's affiliated with the Apple Insider Network. You guys can go watch that. It's great. But I just bought a house. I just moved in. I'm writing a series about home ownership and the Apple Home. My first article came out about it, about packing, moving, and unpacking and setting up again, just the process there. And I will be writing more tips, reviews, roundups, features, just... There's no timeline. It's not like a weekly column or anything. It's just as things happen and there are things to write about, I'll be writing more about it. So I hope you guys enjoy that. So go read that first story and let me know what you think, and let me know what you might want to hear about, because it's not often that you get to move into a home for the first time and set up new devices and new things. And there's only so many Apple tech journalists in this field. I know Stephen Robles did this kind of did a couple of videos. He didn't do a whole series, but he did cover moving and building a house with HomeKit devices many years ago. And a lot has changed since then. So I feel like every time one of us tech journalists do this, it makes sense to cover it again because things have changed and there are new things to talk about. So I'm excited to take the 2026 edition on anyway.
Right. Good.
All right. So, William, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, you know, a little while ago you were talking about how there's nothing on YouTube and the channels are terrible. I'm on YouTube at 58 keys, but also
I just don't want you to.
Probably the best thing.
I do like your channel, though.
Good save. William at AppleInsider.com is the best way to reach me, whereas I presume Wes at AppleInsider.com is a way to reach you, but there are others, aren't there? Mm.
Yes, William has a good YouTube channel. Go watch it. I am Hilly.tech on Blue Sky, Hilly Tech on Mastodon, and I have a blog. I write things about tech and other stuff. And I want to share that we're finally getting podcast reviews again. People realize that there are podcast reviews. So if you go to Apple Podcasts and you leave a review, 1 to 5 stars, doesn't matter. We will read it here because we like to be told about the show. We like to be told what you like, what you don't like. And we got a couple of comments this week. I alluded to one earlier. Is Pick and Play, 1 star. Wes's dumb take on Fold. And I knew someone was going to say this at some point, so we'll get into it. They're half listening to me, I think. And this is why I was clarifying in the main show. Apparently, I'm wishy-washy. Apparently, Apple's not going to make it Fold. Now, they are going to make it, but I hope it fails. And they ask, but what about if Apple gives consumers a choice? Wesley doesn't have all the answers. Apple has some answers that we don't know about. Why not let them come out with it? It's a longer post. I'm just summarizing. So, of course, Wesley's conceived of every possible use case and has decided it's a failure from the get-go. What does Apple know? So I just want to address this. First off, I really attempted to not be wishy-washy here, and if I've come across that way, I apologize. But truly, this whole time, I've believed that if Apple wants this device to come out, it will come out. I would prefer it didn't, as I've said, but more and more evidence shows that Apple's going to really push for this thing to come out if they can. But we have seen no evidence or no leaks, which we explained today. Why and how and the production timeline. So I clarified that earlier. Believe me, I understand it's frustrating listening to these things. These rumors are hard to keep up with. But I think Apple does have an opportunity to do something unique with the iPhone Fold. And even convinced me to buy it, as I've said many times before. They got to do it. But from what I've seen so far, and the device dummy models, I'm not convinced. Apple is not guaranteed to revolutionize the space just because they enter it. But we'll see.
I should say, by
Apple
the way,
Mama S.
I do know everything. I do have all of the answers, but I'm choosing to just eke them out a little bit to tantalize for you. Just in case I'm not mentioned in that review, I thought I'd put the record straight there. I'll shut up now. Okay.
So Apple Mama S is our other review this week. 5 stars, one of the best.
Right.
I look forward to this podcast each week. I like the fun banter between Wes and William, and they go into the depth of the why of certain rumors. Of it could be why it is and likely true or not true. And they go into depth on newer features of Apple devices that media tends to overlook. She genuinely learns more with each listen, like Foveation with Apple Vision Pro. Keep it up. I sound smarter because of you. So thank you for that very kind review.
Thank you.
If you guys want your reviews read here on the show, leave them on Apple Podcasts. We won't see them anywhere else, though they are appreciated, but we're only checking the Apple Podcast feed. That's where we live. Of course, if you want more Apple Insider, there's Apple Insider Plus. It is an ad-free edition of the show. You get a bonus topic each week. This week, we're going to get into what's going on with App Review and what's the solution. As we got into in the main show, there's a lot of weird problems coming through. There's obviously a problem. Apple's very quiet about it. Maybe there's a way to fix this. But if you don't stick around for that, don't worry. We will be back next week. I'm going to thank our sponsor once again, Clean My Mac by MacPaw, and we will talk to you guys very soon.